Grabbing the attention of and engaging your audience as a small business owner can prove to be a tremendous undertaking. According to NerdWallet, 47% of small business owners run marketing entirely on their own. And nearly half of small business owners say they spend less than 2 hours a week on marketing. And lastly, over 75% of small business owners say that internet marketing is extremely effective in attracting new customers. If you're a small business owner who is struggling to convey a consistent and reliable marketing message, then sticking around for this podcast may be a wise investment. Brian Forrester is the co-founder of Genie Jar Digital, a Williamsburg, Virginia marketing agency. He also teaches at Old Dominion University, and he's also got an easy framework which will allow you as a business owner to create powerful content which will help you reach your ideal client. Forrester joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to talk to you about marketing messages this morning. Great to see you, and thanks so very much for being here.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Absolutely. Now, Brian, I know that you have a 5-step sort of a framework to help people build better marketing messages. So I'm wondering if you can tell me all about the framework that you do and the framework where you help people build better marketing messages that they can reach their ideal clients.
Absolutely. We've always felt that a framework is really important. Otherwise, you can get off into the woods real quick. And basically, ours is a 10-step framework, and it's really a checklist to make sure a business or an individual is hitting all the right points to have a very effective campaign. And think of marketing, this is what's really helped us as we work with clients. Think of marketing as a chain link fence. All of your marketing collateral and efforts should fit together like a fence or like Legos. The problem with a lot of businesses is they have marketing over here and marketing over there, but it doesn't connect. So the collateral can get confusing really quick to the end user. So when we sit down and say, okay, how can we help this company to move the ball down the field? We look at these 10 steps as that framework to make sure it's all effective. Now, 1 or 2 or 3 of these by themselves will not be as effective as doing all 10 together because they do connect. Now, depending on what you want, I can run through the list of those 10 real quick, and then I can dive into any that you want me to, depending on the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go through the 10 steps. What does the framework look like?
Yeah, so some of these terms will be very familiar to you and your listeners and your viewers. Some might be different terminology, but I can explain if necessary. The first is very obvious and most important, and we call it a skeletal system because just like our bodies have skeletons, a marketing system has a skeleton to it. And by recognizing it, it helps your marketing to stand. So the first would be your target audience. You got to know who you're trying to reach. That's the number one part of the framework. Number 2, you've got to understand your slam dunk message. What's going to be the message that makes your target audience stop in their tracks, turn around and wonder, how did you know that about me? You're reading my mail. The third part of the 10 step is what we call the brand personality. Understanding the personality or the filter, the tone of how you want your message to be perceived. Some might be humorous, some might be serious, some might be creative, some might be analytical. It depends on the brand and the individual. Number 4 is what we call the Clutter Buster. And basically, it's how do you bust through the clutter of so many people saying the same things in your industry. You've got to think about how you can be different. Number 5 is the principle of going fishing. And that means you've got to go where the fish are. Where is your target market hanging out? And that's where you've got to drop the line and put the bait. And that's where you'll see effectiveness with your marketing message. The 6th one is what we call your Bullseye product. And basically, that's the product or the service that has the biggest margin for you, the biggest profit. And we encourage people to work with the end in mind, work backwards so that people are led to that Bullseye product through your messaging. Number 7 is what we call foot in the door. How can you get your foot in the door to establish a relationship with someone, even if they don't become an immediate client? Maybe it will be down the road, but you've got to do something strategic to get that relationship started. Number 8 is a principle that we call trust the pros. In other words, how are you showing your authority and your expertise so when people are searching about who to hire, they feel confident in choosing you because you have the resume. And then the last 2, one of my favorites is called phone triggers. You know, what can you do to make somebody pull out their phone and take a picture or a video of your product or your service? Because if they do that, then you can get some free marketing. And it's one of the most powerful ways of seeing your product or service get out there. And then finally, the last one is closing the deal. How do you make sure that you can ring that cash register? And there are definite principles about how to do that better. So those are the 10 steps. That's the checklist. That's the framework. That's the skeleton system. And that's what we look at whenever we work with any client to make sure we're hitting all the high points.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian, tell me about the importance of sort of narrowing your market and really honing in on what you said earlier, the audience that you're trying to reach. How important is that?
Oh my goodness, it's one of the most important. I would argue it's the most important, and that's why we have it as our number 1 step. It's also the most misunderstood, Kevin, because a lot of folks they think they might understand who they're trying to reach, but maybe they don't. So obviously, let's understand the principle that you've got to know who your audience is before you can speak to them effectively. If you're giving a public speech, you want to make sure that you know who are in the chairs. Are they kids? Are they women? Are they men? Are they a mix? Are they senior citizens? Are they middle age? That helps to determine the language you use, the stories you tell, and the call to action that you want them to do afterwards. So understanding that target market, your audience, is really a combination of knowing demographics, the what of your audience, as well as the psychoanalytics, which is knowing the why of why they choose to do certain things, their mindset, how they look at money, what are their fears, what are their passions, what are their hobbies, what are their favorite websites. When you know all those things or begin to collect that information, it makes a beautiful picture so that you can speak to that person whenever you're doing your marketing message.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian, I'm curious to ask you, do you think any business person has the power to sort of maximize their marketing prowess if they put enough time, energy, and effort into it?
And I say emphatically yes, because my favorite definition of marketing is inviting someone into a story. And everyone has a story, whether that's personal or family or business or organization. And whenever you discover that powerful story that can impact someone else, that's the story that you want to share. So anyone starting a business, they need to figure out what is the story that can help me to reach that target audience. And a business story, in my opinion, has three key parts to it. Number one, you got to speak to that target audience and understand what they want. Number two, you've got to speak to the problems that they face in getting what they want. And then number three, you've got to show your plan or your solution to help them get what they want and overcome that problem. So anyone can craft a story and be effective in reaching people. And there's lots of examples that we could share with that, but that's the basics of business storytelling.
Yeah, and part of business storytelling these days, Brian, is sort of the shift to the digital age of marketing. So I'm curious to get your opinion on how you effectively navigate both social and digital marketing versus some of the more traditional methods as well.
Yep, that's a great question. And I've always felt that, especially in the digital or social media landscape, the storytelling is still going to be there. And here's the key proponents that we like to think about. Make sure that the content that you're giving is both educational and entertaining. And when I say entertaining, that just means to capture the attention of the people that you're trying to reach. Again, that doesn't mean that every brand has to be Dave Chappelle or Jerry Seinfeld, but it does mean that you have to capture the attention in a certain way to stop the scroll when they're on their feed, their news feed. Great example of this is a Twitter account I found recently, and catch this, it's the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewage District.
Okay.
Now that sounds uninteresting to me and probably so many other people, but this Twitter account literally has tens of thousands of followers. They're fans, because whoever's in charge of that Twitter account there in Northeast Ohio, they put memes, they use humor, they use pictures, and they make the content both educational and entertaining. And I mean, not to sound crass, but if you can make poop exciting, it's wastewater management, then any industry can have an exciting message. So it doesn't matter where you're coming from or what you're trying to promote, you can find stories to tell if you just dig a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has a story to tell and deserves a platform, don't they?
Yes, absolutely.
And Brian, one of the things about me that I'll share with you is I was born with spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy. Simply means that I don't have enough oxygen to walk normally. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I also work with businesses to sort of diversify their workforces to hire more people with disabilities. So the question as it relates to marketing for you this morning has to do with how do you think we can diversify a marketing message to reach not only folks with disabilities, but a wider audience as well?
And to me, that's a very important question in the era that we're in as well, not only with race, but also disabilities and different other elements as they come up. And that's where I believe you can look at it from many different angles. Let's take images. What kind of images are we using in our marketing? And I would press against people who just only use a certain type of looking person always in the marketing. It might be somebody who has a certain skin color that they're overly reliant on, or a certain attractiveness. I think that when we can begin again to understand who we're trying to reach, that we want the images and we want the message to reflect them. We're trying to be full of empathy with people and understand what makes them tick. So that's why in our marketing message with diversification, we want to use the pronoun you much more than we use the pronoun me or us or we. And I think when we try to get into somebody's head and say, okay, let me understand what you're going through. Let me understand your unique struggle. Let me understand why you need this product or service or whatever it might be. Then that will inform our messaging and our images so that we are showing diversity and empathy towards a wide group of people instead of just the same old pictures or the same old copy that gets cliche and it gets tired. There's a big wide world out there. Let's embrace people for who they are and their unique journeys.
Yeah, diversity of perspective is important, isn't it?
It is. It's critical.
And Brian, I know that you also teach at Old Dominion University, so I'm curious to ask you about, what excites you the most about positively influencing the next generation when it comes to marketing?
Right. Well, I know that you could probably say the same thing, Kevin, that you look back on people who've poured into your life, and it makes a big difference when someone takes time to help you, whether that be through tips or shortcuts or wisdom. And that's what we do with ODU, Old Dominion University. We work with new entrepreneurs who are trying to get something off the ground in terms of their business. And we're trying to encourage them with being confident in who they are, being confident with their brand. And just like every person is an A#1 original, we want their business to be the same. And the way we sometimes put it is, in a world where everybody seems to be vanilla ice cream, we're trying to get people to embrace what makes them different and to love that. So, be strawberry ice cream with sprinkles and whipped cream. Just stand out and don't be ashamed to stand out. That's what makes somebody beautiful. That's what makes it special. That's what makes you be, I think Seth Godin once said, the purple cow in a crowd. So do something, be who you are that's different instead of being white noise. So that's what we try to tell our students along with the framework. Just embrace your unique journey and shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone has that's one thing that I think that makes the world unique. Everybody has diverse perspectives, and if we embrace diversity, we solve problems faster and innovate ideas faster that way too. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yes, absolutely.
And Brian, I know that everyone. So I live in Canada, so the Canadian version of Shark Tank is called Dragon's Den, and obviously the American version is called Shark Tank. So I'm curious to ask you, what factors do you think make a great marketing idea?
A great marketing message or marketing
idea. So if someone wanted to start a business, what do you think is a good way to market the message of the business, and what do you think are the factors that contribute to a great marketing idea?
Yep. And that's where it comes back to that framework for us, because it's not just one thing or one idea. That's where it all has to link together. So, for instance, somebody might have a nice, glossy website with lots of bells and whistles, and they spent $20,000 on making it. But if their headline is not drawing in their target audience, if there are not very clear buttons of call to action of what to do next, then they just wasted a lot of money. It becomes basically just a digital business card that's static. So that's where the message has got to tie in. That's where you have your brand personality tie in. That's where you've got to be different and attract and direct people, and on through that framework. And again, when you hit all of those pieces together, that's what makes that marketing effort work. And we have found over the years, we've been doing it for 25 plus years now, most companies, they do 2 or 3 or maybe 4 out of these 10 framework steps. And then they wonder, why their marketing is not as effective as they want it to be. And then once you start to look at these other elements and how they fit in, that's when it's a game changer. So we're trying to get the discipline of looking at things holistically instead of just in pieces. And to me, that's the secret to an effective marketing piece. From beginning to end, from number 1 to number 10, knowing that framework and making sure you hit all those steps.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian, I'm also curious to ask you about your definition of effective leadership when it comes to business and in marketing as well. How do you define leadership in business?
I would define leadership in business like I would define leadership anywhere else, and that is serving someone. It's serving with, to use an imagery, is to put a towel over your arm and being willing to go low to help somebody rise up. And that's a lost art in our world, in the dog-eat-dog world that we live in. Everybody wants to be the top of the mountain, the king of the mountain. And I know there's a certain place for trying to pursue greatness. Don't get me wrong. But when you can really put the achievements of someone else above yourself, you want them to do well, you want to help them to succeed, that's a special place. And that's a special purpose. And I believe that all great leaders have that as the X factor of how can I serve you to make you better. And that's what great marketing does. Marketing really should not come across as sleazy. It should not be coming across as fake or disingenuous. But great, effective marketing is always serving somebody and asking the question, how can I help you solve the problem that you're facing? I'm here to help you. I'm here by your side. To me, that's the greatest form of leadership. That's the greatest definition of it.
Absolutely. And Brian, I know that you've written a couple of books, so I'll give you the platform and the space to tell me all about the books that you've written and the message behind them, buddy.
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking. We've done a couple of marketing books to help entrepreneurs. One is called 30 Days of Marketing Mojo. And basically, it's just taking bite-sized marketing principles, tips and tricks and case studies and stories, and putting them over a 30-day period of time in one little book. So we've had some incredible response when we give these books out to people. They're easy to read. They're easy to digest, these principles, and they dive more into the framework of what we talked about earlier. So we have that as a free download. And before we get off today, I can tell people where to find that. Also, we've done another book called I Hate Marketing. And it's a weird title, but we discovered when we work with business owners that they're so passionate about their businesses that they get stressed out with how to figure out the marketing. So they often hate thinking about marketing. So we tried to change that mindset and make marketing more attainable and more simple for a lot of entrepreneurs who get frustrated by it. So we dive into that in that book. And then also, just on a little bit of a separate note, I wrote a young adult fiction novel, and it's called The Jungle Within. And again, it's all about storytelling. I love stories, and I take that into the fiction realm sometimes because it's one of my deep hobbies that I love.
You know, Brian, that's one of the reasons I got into journalism. I love telling stories and having authentic conversations. Absolutely. And I know, Brian, that your family's big into sports, and I originally went to school to become a sports reporter. So when I found that out about you, that was a common thread between us. So I know that you've got 5 kids, a golden retriever that you love so much, and your family keeps you busy. So tell me all about
it. Yeah, we've got 5 kids. So 3 are still in high school, 2 are in college. One of our 5 we adopted from Ethiopia when she was 7 years old. She's now 16. So that's been quite a journey for us, not only through fostering, but also through adoption. So talk about a story. That's a powerful story to tell. And it's made our family stronger and better. So yeah, those kids, they're busy with all their hobbies, particularly soccer. We stay busy as a soccer family. travel soccer, year-round tournaments. We're always on a sideline somewhere on any given weekend, which we love. It's a lot of fun because we know the season shall soon pass as the kids get older. And been married for this March will be 25 years to Jessica. So just still blows my mind that we're coming up on a silver anniversary. And you mentioned our golden retriever. Yes, we do have a 2-year-old golden retriever. And for the pet lovers out there, I know that they will agree. To me, having a pet in the home, especially if you have a breed like a retriever, they just bring so much love to a home. They're like the shock absorbers of life. No matter what kind of day you've had, when you walk back in the door, they're going to greet you with a wagging tail and make you feel better about yourself. So yeah, that's our family in a nutshell. We're crazy. There's lots of drama always happening. We could be a great reality show, but we love each other and we support each other.
Yeah, it sounds, just talking to you, Brian, it sounds like your family has lots of energy and connectedness, huh?
Yes, to me, that's the most important area to see if you're succeeding in life. It's not about the bottom line of your business or how many new clients that you've gotten or how many podcast viewers or listeners that you have. You know, it comes down to how well are you loving the people that are closest to you. And I'm imperfect. I make lots of mistakes, but that's always the key part for me to judge my success in life. Do I love the people that are close to me, and do they love me? And am I doing things that can serve them?
Yeah, and Brian, I'm curious that you brought it up about your message to anyone who may be considering fostering or adopting and going that route in order to grow their family and some of the benefit that you've seen from it as well.
Well, for those so inclined to prayer, I would say pray first because it's a huge decision and you're taking on a lot of things that you have no clue what's going to come and you're going to face. Now, for us, when we did an international adoption out of Ethiopia, it made it even more difficult with bringing in a 7-year-old little girl who spoke no English. And really the only words that she knew was, I love you, mom and dad, and chocolate. That's all she knew, those three phrases. And so we had to learn the language. We had to help her overcome panic at first in a new place, in a new country, with a new language, with a new everything. But the journey for us has been nothing short of miraculous and beautiful. And today, now that she's 16, she's doing so great, well-adjusted, doing great in school, can speak English fluently. You'd never know that she didn't speak English. And she has the most resilient spirit of any kid I've ever met. And I think that's because of what she's been through. So she has an upbeat attitude, and that has bled over into our home and made us all try to look at things with more positive outlook. That's been the great thing for our family.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone deserves a place to call home, don't they?
Yeah. There's always room for one more. That's what we always say. We look around our dinner table and we always think to ourselves, well, we can make room for one more chair. Come on, let's bring another person into our circle of love because everybody needs a family. Everybody needs a home.
Yeah, building a community is essentially important. And, Brian, my final question for you this morning has to do with your own personal and professional legacy, my friend, and how you want that to be defined.
Yeah, I know we've touched on it already, Kevin, and I would just say I want to be remembered for integrity and how I love people. And not just the people in my home, but the people outside of my home, even people who might be difficult to love. I can be one of those sometimes, but I want to love people and I want to do things the right way, be honest. And that's really what I want people who know me the best to think back on my life saying, you know what? Yeah, he was imperfect. He needed a lot of grace, but he tried to do things the right way with integrity. And if the people who know me best can say that about me, then I'm happy with the way I lived.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell people if you can pay it forward for other people, the reward you get personally will multiply, won't they?
Absolutely. In beautiful ways, for sure.
Absolutely. And Brian, Finally, tell me if people want to get connected with you and all the great work that you do. What's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, so the company that I have started is called Genie Jar Marketing. And I have a partner in the business as well. And again, we've been doing marketing for over 25 years. So geniejarmarketing.com is where you can find us. And if you want to have some of those downloads that we talked about earlier, if anybody wants to download the 10-step framework, or if you want to download for free the 30 Days of Marketing Mojo book I talked about, or if you want to read the first few chapters of that novel that I told you I wrote, just go to geniejarmarketing.com/podcast. So geniejarmarketing.com/podcast, and you will find all the goodies right there waiting for you on that page.
Fabulous. Well, Brian, I have to thank you for an energetic, informative, and thought-provoking conversation about marketing messages, my friend. Your work in this space and time on my behalf is most appreciated, and I want to thank you for being here this morning.
Hey, Kevin, the pleasure was all mine. You keep up the great job that you're doing. I appreciate you.